Brown Voyager podcast. Say hello to my baby doggy, Orange, who's going to be keeping me company throughout today's podcast. Brown Voyager is a wellness platform dedicated to everything related to mindfulness. And it's really difficult for me to post online. If you can see, I don't have too many videos posted before this one, just because there is so much resistance for me to post. And even on my Brown Voyager Instagram page, where I post daily meditation videos, I want to start off by acknowledging that for someone like me who has been raised to kind of keep to myself and then naturally not liking to put myself out there, I am a very private person, and I do like to be very mindful of the amount of time that I spend on Instagram or that I spend online. And so it doesn't really come so naturally to me to post, even though the internet and posting content has already been around for a very long time and it has been very normalized. But that resistance is still there. So I want to acknowledge that as I am creating this. There's also just so much internal resistance from my end to creating a video like this, because I wonder, what's the purpose of this? You know, if this is even going to convey the idea of what I would like to convey and the feeling and the mood and all of that. But some of them are excuses. A lot of it is fear, which is really good to recognize so we can unpack it and work with it. And they're just natural questions and thoughts that pop up, and I think that's totally fine. But I wanted to start off this particular video by welcoming you guys to engage with me and to share what are your feelings and thoughts around posting content publicly in your life, however that looks like. It doesn't even have to be online, but being on a public platform. How do you feel about that? How frequently do you do it? What type of resistance do you experience? What sort of fear do you have around that? So I'm very interested to hear from you guys. You can either post in the comment in this video, or you can go to my website, Brown Voyager, and there's a place where you can reach out to me if you want to take that route. By all means, I welcome you. I'm very curious to hear from everyone. I feel like it's so much more valuable to share these sort of wisdoms and insight as much and as best as I possibly can. So this is the why I'm doing these videos. And even though I'm outside of my comfort zone, and I'm still gonna do it. I also have an Instagram page where I post daily meditations. It's definitely not daily, but I have found that even just posting a 1-second video based on mindfulness, even if it's just something as little and short like that, that is more than good enough, and it has a positive impact long term, which is what I am looking for. And I think it's really important to do a video like this, especially with the political climate and everything that is going on. There is a lot going on publicly out in the world, and then also personally as well in people's lives as I'm talking to people, as I'm connecting to people all over Chicago. I'm really privileged that I live in Indiana, where I am surrounded by more conservative folks, but then I work in Chicago, where I'm surrounded by a little bit more liberal folks. And so I get to connect with all sorts of different people of different beliefs and values and different walks of life. And I feel like that is a privilege to me, to be able to connect and get a pulse on how people are feeling. Just again, what you see on the outside and then internally as well. And so, because there has been a lot of struggles and conflicts, things going on, there's a lot of issues that are rising to the surface. And so I want to be able to talk about some of the conversations that I have been having with folks and to share it with you. What I have learned from talking with really young kids in daycare centers, to really older folks, and everyone in between all across Chicago, some of the things that we have been talking about is self-love and taking care of ourselves, and that the importance of that, and that if we are able to do that for ourselves, then we're better able to care and support for other people. And so this coming from a place of compassion. So how do we define those things? How do we, there's so much already content and just stuff on self-care, and we all have our own different practices and perceptions of it, but I want to bring our attention and focus to that, because I think just recognizing that and being able to just check in with yourself and see how you define it and how your practice looks like is beyond valuable. And also that whatever we are doing, whatever work that we are doing, however we are living our life, that it is rooted in our values is really important. So for me, one of my values that I care a lot about is compassion, being compassionate to myself, being compassionate to others. And talking with folks all across Chicago, that is a very common value that binds people together. So that's something that has come up, as well as discipline and accountability. And so that may have to do with how we are practicing our self-care, or how we are showing compassion for others. Are we disciplined in that? Are we actually owning up to the things that we believe in? Does it reflect and align with our actions? And then being able to hold ourselves accountable, being able to hold others accountable, other people being able to hold us accountable is also a very important piece, because with self-care, with compassion, these are things that we may do by ourselves, but it's important that to recognize that as humans, we are all social beings. We live within a group, and so having accountability, discipline requires all of us to come together. And so those are just like some very basic things that I'm sure everyone has heard about and really familiar, but I wanted to touch up on it because these are things that are coming up in conversation over and over again. And so if it is coming up in conversation, I think it's important that we are recognizing how we practice it, how we define these things, how we communicate these things with other people in our lives that we care about. So my question to you is, how are you staying connected to your community? How are you staying connected to things that you care about? If that's something that you feel compelled to share below in the comments, I would be really interested. In fact, I encourage everyone to, if you can get into contact with me by sharing in the comments or by connecting with me on any of my social media platforms. How do you feel connected with your community? How do you connect with your values? What are your thoughts, and how are you feeling about all of that? That's just something that I am really curious about, and would like to just hear how other people are feeling about that. I'd like to end with a book recommendation just because I absolutely love reading books. I just finished reading a book called The Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, and everything that I've talked about of self-love, compassion, accountability, discipline, those are all topics that he talks about in his memoir while he is walking us through his journey in life. And I just thought it was a very compelling, really interesting book. I listened to the audio version of it. I think he's an amazing storyteller. And so that's a book that I just finished reading that I thought I would share, and kind of on my mind as I'm having these conversations with other people in my lives, and with individuals all across the communities, different communities in Chicago. So thank you for watching, and comment below about how you feel about connecting with others and even opening up. For me, opening up to you about this conversation hasn't been easy, but it's something that I care about, so I'm doing it. And wherever you are, I'm happy that you are here and that you joined me, and look forward to connecting again in the future. See you soon. Okay, so let's get into some questions. I'm going to answer some questions that I have here pulled up. All right, so the first one is related to wellness and community work. What have Chicago communities taught me about resilience and healing? Chicago communities have taught me that they are super resilient, and that, whatever issue that you care about, there is more than likely an individual or a group of people who are doing great work to address that issue. So that shows that Chicagoans are doers. Wherever I am, I see that people are getting involved, they're showing up, they're talking, and they're connecting with others about things that they care about. And so this shows to me that regardless of whatever is happening in the world, whatever is happening in our society, in our communities, that we still show up and we're very resilient. And in terms of healing, when we do come together and we are doing that work, or when we just are talking to each other, or when we're eating, that is when we are healing, the act of coming together. So if you are someone who is feeling a little bit lonely, who is feeling like things are just so heavy, I think honestly the best thing that you can possibly do is to get outside of your house and just be a part of a group, to just join an event, something, and show up and engage in whatever way feels comfortable to you, and that in itself is very healing. What is one belief about mindfulness that I had to learn? So something that I have unlearned and I'm still unlearning is that a practice is very fluid and open, and it is flowing. And so the more I try to control it, the more I want something to be perfect, the less I will get from that practice itself, the less mindful I am being. So that's one of the beautiful things about mindfulness that makes it so doable, that makes it easy for anyone to be able to practice. And it's that you are able to make and follow your own mindfulness practice, however that looks like, in your own way, and that is good enough.